happens, and it just kind of snowballs from there.
Looks like we just had our glitch of the mission.
Exactly. Yeah. He
oh
says
no,
that, yeah.
you called that way too early.
Yeah. And then when they find out, obviously, that they don't have enough power to even get home, which is great. And then when they find out they can't make any more waste dumps.
That is a curveball.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they literally cannot, they have to, like there's a moment where he's eating out of a bag and they're like, oh, I'm going to have to use this bag to pee. like, I love that part. Okay. What are your biggest exceptions?
I think that this CO2 scrubber was the thing that really, like, it required such immediate attention. It had a super short time frame, and it completely screwed up the flow for the other problems they were trying to solve. So that one to me seems, because of it being the biggest sidetrack, and you couldn't avoid it, you couldn't deprioritize it. It just like had to. It was the most urgent, immediate thing. There was no way around it. So to me, it was that there were maybe other things that were scarier or harder to overcome, but that like showed up fast.
Yeah.
And it totally screwed up the flow for what everyone was working on.
Totally makes sense. I have that one down for best crisis management scene.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that the CO2 stuff is probably the biggest one. I think the one that was probably the most impactful, or that hit the rest of the project the hardest, was when they first started to troubleshoot the problem of the rupture. They were losing O2 pressure. They had them close off 2 like power buses.
Yeah.
And hoping that would fix it.
Right.
And it was that act that not only did it not fix the problem, but it guaranteed they wouldn't have enough power to make it home on their current thing.
If that's where the leak is, we can isolate it. We can isolate it there, and we can save what's left in the tanks, and we can run on the good cell.
You close them, you can't open them again. You can't land on the moon with one healthy fuel cell.
Gene, the Odyssey is dying. From my chair here, this is the last option.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of like snowballs everything.
yeah.
That was the first decision.
That
The
you
first
couldn't come
bad
back.
troubleshooting, I guess.
Yep.
Well, I don't even know if it's bad troubleshooting. It was just, they were like, let's just try this,
They
right?
weren't doing anything
Yeah.
at that moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Moving on. Best crisis management scene. I only have one other than the refitting of the filters, which is when Marilyn has to get their daughter dressed when she's really upset about the Beatles breaking up. She's really, really upset, and she needs to get her dressed. Other than that, I mean, the whole rest of the movie is a crisis management scene.
I think a beautiful scene when it comes to crisis management in this movie is when they have the explosion at first and everybody in Flight Command is going crazy, and Jim pauses everybody and says, "We are leaking oxygen."
I don't know. Maybe this is a caution and warning failure.
Houston, we are venting something out into space.
I can see it outside of window 1 right now. It's definitely a gas of some sort.
It's got to be the oxygen.
And everybody stops,
Yeah.
pauses, and then all of a sudden there's order. And people solving a problem together. I think, like,
they all got over themselves
beautiful.
very quickly.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
such
great.
a dork. That
Good.
gave me goosebumps.
It was good.
So good.
It was good. It was good. Okay.
Oh, I had one more. I
Go
did. If
ahead.
I could jump in with
Yeah,
one.
please.
The one that I had was when they went to go wake up Gary Sinise.
Oh,
Ken.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They go to his house and they wake him up and they're like, "We've been trying to call you for 45 minutes." And the reason that I like it is because they have abandoned decorum.
Yeah.
Because they know that this is the only chance to fix the problem.
Right.
And also in his response, he's like, "No, this is my team. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, you can explain it in the car. I will put on pants."
Yeah.
So like
the fact that you're here
it gives me a lot of information
Yeah.
about, but the persistence of it, you know, I don't know how many times I had project managers that were like, "Well, I sent an email," and I'm like, "You called them.
Oh, you pick up the phone.
You call them, and if they're here, you go
Yes.
there."
No. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
if
don't know.
they're in the building, you walk there,
No,
and
I-
you sit at their desk. Bring your laptop. It's fine.
Yep.
Hover.
Oh, yeah.
It's- The world will
Wait
carry
outside
on.
of a conference room for them.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no. There's been plenty of times where, like, at 10 o'clock at night, I've made a phone call to a developer saying, yeah, the site's down.
This is a really big problem.
Yeah, this is a really big problem. Okay, moving on. Weakest team member. I've got 2 nominees. Obviously, the vendor, the guy from Crummin, who's just making excuses the entire time. I don't even know why he's there other than to be a client representative. And then I'm going to go with Fred. I'm going to go with Fredo.
Totally.
Because, and not just because he gets sick, and I don't mean it from a literal standpoint, but when he does get sick, there's a scene where Tom Hanks, when Jim Lovell comes over to him, and he's just kind of a dick. He talks about how their pregnancy was an accident, and he doesn't know what the sex of the baby's going to be. And then he talks about how it hurts when he pees. This is all like in the span of like 2 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of sharing there.
He is just dumping on him, and I'm like, isn't there something better for you guys to be doing at this moment? Like, weakest team member,
Flight
go.
surgeon.
Flight surgeon. That's legit. Okay.
I think the guy who kept making me crazy was the guy who kept trying to disclaim what the thing he built
Yeah, the vendor
was built for.
Yeah.
The vendor.
Yeah.
I was like, can you not see that is so unimportant right now?
Yeah.
And if you can't see that, like, just get out of the room.
Yep.
Just leave.
I know.
No one's interested. No one's holding you accountable for the circumstances this thing is under right now. Just answer the freaking question, man.
Yep.
He made me crazy.
The other character like that, I had to look up the character's name, or it might be the actor's name, Henry Hurt. And he's the guy at the end who's like, it could go wrong this way, it could go wrong this way, it could go wrong this way, any multitude of things. Then
I pointed out to Emily because he's also the guy from The Walking Dead. He's the Hilltop.
Yes,
he's the guy from the Hilltop.
She kicks him out.
She kicks him out. Yeah, it's great. Oh, if you haven't seen Walking Dead, you don't just.
That was
no
in season
spoilers.
1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Right. Anyways, is that good? We got the weakest one. Okay.
That guy makes me crazy.
All right. Strongest team member. I've got only one, and I'm going to go with Kenneth Mattingly, Gary Sinise's character. What do you got, Lisa?
Gene Kranz.
Gene, nice.
I'm like a sucker for his
vest?
orchestrating.
The white vest.
Also the vest. I also like that it's a special vest that requires a special delivery.
Yeah.
I like
From
the
his
backstory.
wife.
Yeah, the backstory for the vest is good, but also just he does it throughout the entire circumstance, and it is his subtle ability to get people back on track without them feeling shut down is like super aspirational for me.
He's good at refocusing people.
Yep. He's like that. It's like a weird version of improv where he's like, yes, and in half the time. Yes, and but with a third of the energy.
Yeah.
So like it's so great how he doesn't ever make people feel like their idea was dumb.
Yeah.
While this still at the same time dismissing an idea that won't work. Love it.
It's good. Okay. What do you got, Emily?
I had both of them and Jim.
And Jim? Yeah. I think that's legit.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap it up here. And so I want to hear from each of you. What are your, if we're doing a postmortem, if we're all sitting around in a postmortem after this, what's your top 3 needs improvement, or top 3 went well? What?
I think what went well was how quickly they recognized a new type of project. So the transition from saying this is not a mission that is going to go by the books that we wrote out to this is a rescue operation, and that has different constraints and priorities. I thought that transition, sometimes that happens and it takes a while for you to realize that it should have happened. So, I mean, they had the benefit of like literally blinky emergency lights and oxygen hemorrhaging out of the...
Right.
So that's, a little bit more of a tell. But in Project Universe, that can be a little bit more subtle, and it's really hard to see when you should have switched gears.
Yeah.
So I think that was really good. I also think the team management was it allowed for brilliant people to get frustrated without everyone then dogging them for like being frustrated at some point. Because as long as you don't all lose your shit at the same time, you'll probably be fine.
Right.
So there's no sense or need to point out when someone wasn't at their best.
Yeah.
And I think as a team, their culture prioritized that.
Yeah. It's good.
I like those.
It's a good perspective. Okay. What do you got, Emily?
I would echo everything you just said as far as things that went well, how they worked together, how they adapted. Very important. The one thing as far as needs improvement that would be within the control of the situation or of NASA in this case would be having that backup person not drinking beers and hanging up the phone. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe that's just a part of the movie that they put together, and maybe he wasn't really that hard to get a hold of. But I feel like you would have if the backup team is training to the degree that the first string was, they would be. Maybe they're not in the building, but they are accessible for the entirety of the flight.
It's good. It's good.
I had one needs improvement too. Sorry,
Go ahead.
was a segue, but the ways that they were notifying people outside of the command group, I did not think was a strong suit. So they have the press conference, and then they've got the family notifications.
Yeah,
and the family was getting so much information from the freaking news.
Right. Yeah,
I was shocked.
Yeah, they were watching.
It was
the news.
either a direct, unfiltered feed from the emergency situation spacecraft or the nightly news, and I was like, really? You don't have someone there to like that's somewhere between like PR and counseling to like help bridge that gap. So I thought that stakeholder updates were not great.
Let me put it this way. The trajectory may be off, their thrusters may be frozen, their guidance system might be malfunctioning, their heat shield could be cracked, and their parachutes might be 3 blocks of ice. So clearly we have some obstacles to overcome.
Okay, well now I'm asking you, when will we know?
Blackout lasts for 3 minutes. If they're not back in 4, we'll know.
No.
Like if you were outside that room, it was garbage. And the press conference was cagey.
Yeah, exactly. No, I do like the experts on the thing. It was like, if the Earth is a basketball, and the moon is a baseball, and they're 14 feet apart, the way that they enter the Earth's atmosphere is as thin as this piece of paper. And it's like, kids are watching this, like...
Yeah, the fire is going to be intense, and there's like a blowtorch.
Yeah, the guy with this, he just is going and going with the blowtorch.
Yeah, so the press conference somehow felt both like uninformative, and like kind of smarmy.
Yeah.
So one thing that I think other projects I've seen do better is keeping the non-technical but involved stakeholders appraised in a way that is accurate and proactive and honest, without also requiring them to get PhDs.
Yeah, exactly. No, I did appreciate the candor when in the press conference when they're like, how is this compared to the other issues we've had? And he's like, this is the worst one we've ever. Like he just laid it right out there.
Yeah.
He's like, this is the worst there ever has been.
That's why you have the PR person in The Martian.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. Yeah, she's great.
Yes.
She's
Right?
great.
It is.
I mean, she swears so much in that movie. I can't wait till we do that one. That one's going to be good.
It's going to be so good. But
I will say I did put the news as the biggest demotivator.
Yeah.
In the whole thing.
They kept bringing you down.
And where did that NASA radio come from that's in Maryland's
I want one of those.
Did it
want
appear,
one. It's like
appear
it's like a
after?
police scanner,
Or
but
does she
for
always
space?
have that thing?
It's a space
Is that
police
a
scanner.
white
That's-
perk?
It seems like it came after. Like there was an emergent. Like they recognized that there was an emergency on the craft, and then like it implied that like the next day she had this thing. And P.S. That's a horrible way.
Would you ever have that?
I
like
would
your
freak
client
out.
having a
No.
line into your room, your war room?
No. There are like I'm not gonna lie and I'm not gonna avoid giving updates, but that is no.
Yeah.
Hard stop. You are not getting it unfiltered.
It was actually like gyms, so he could listen in on all the activity as an astronaut. He would have a direct line in.
Yeah, but it didn't show up. Like it wasn't on their nightstand or something.
I should say though, I mean, these are people's lives where we're talking about interactive projects, right?
Well,
so it's worth saying that maybe they do have that, and that is appropriate when it's that situation.
You might make different
Don't minimize
choices,
that,
but as like the informed stakeholder, no, you're not moving into my war room and like listening to how the sausage is getting made right now, which again is a horrible analogy for this actual.
No, I think
event,
it's a really good analogy.
Nope.
So I'll do my two real quick.
Go ahead.
So my on the could be better or could have done better. I actually thought in the control room there was I guess my two are kind of paradoxical against each other a little bit. There you go. So the first is in the control room, I feel like there was a little bit of hesitation to believe their instrumentation. When they started to have a problem, they were like, I don't know. I mean, it couldn't be everything, right? I mean,